How's it going, everyone? My name is Sonic6 and I am back with another video today. Today we're discussing MTG Eternal Formats. Basically, that's Magic the Gathering Eternal Formats, for those of you who are new to this whole Magic thing. You ready? Let's dive in. First, let's start with one of the most popular Magic the Gathering formats, second to only one that I will be mentioning later on in this list, and that is Modern. Modern is a non-rotating MTG format where all cards from 8th edition forward are legal for play. Now, for some context, that's all the way from 2003 till now. That's 15 years as of the recording of this video of Magic the Gathering history. Now, I can imagine just how intimidating that must sound to someone new to the game, and I can assure you it's nowhere near as intimidating as you think. In fact, there's a lot of already predetermined archetypes that have been established throughout Modern's history. Now, I can imagine how intimidating that must sound. However, all it really means is that the format is broad, and you can effectively play whatever you really love and have success as long as you tune it and perfect your playstyle to evolve to whatever the meta changes to. Now, let's get into what you can expect. Given that Modern has such a broad meta, you might be wondering, well, what are the pillars of the Modern format that I should be keeping in mind while constructing and perfecting my deck? First, let's get into the control section. Control decks are decks that attempt to grind you out through using card advantage spells such as cantrips, and countering your threats with counterspells such as Cryptic Command or Mana Leak. Some of these pillars of the control decks in Modern include Blue-White Control and Jeskai Control. They attempt to hold a grip on the board state by countering and removing your threats through use of spells such as Cryptic Command or Path to Exile, and also some board wipes such as Wrath of God and Supreme Verdict. Once they've grinded out your resources, their goal is to land a threat such as Teferi, Hero of Dominaria, or Jace the Mind Sculptor in order to maintain such a consistent card advantage that you cannot catch up to their position within the game. Next, you have Big Mana decks. Big Mana decks attempt to cheat the conventional mana curve of the typical deck by using lands or spells to produce excess mana or ramp. The most popular of these strategies is the Tron strategy. The Tron strategy utilizes the Urza Tron lands, including Urza's Mine, Urza's Tower, and Urza's Power Plant, and when these three lands are together on the field, they can all tap together to produce a grand total of 7 mana. Now, 3 lands tapping for 7 mana, that is not good for your opponent. Once they have the 7 mana from the given Tron lands, they attempt to slam down a Karn Liberated, which will make your opponent cry by either exiling their hand or exiling their field, and then they will attempt to land either big Eldrazi such as Ulamog or Emrakul to either restart the game or kill you with their massive creatures. Next are fair mid-range decks, such as Jund, Grixis Death Shadow, and Mardu Pyromancer. These decks attempt to win the game by picking apart your hand with cards such as Thoughtseize, Inquisition of Kozilek, and Kolaghan's Command. After they've picked apart your hand, they attempt to land an undercosted threat such as Tarmogoyf, Death Shadow, Bloodbraid Elf, or a young Pyromancer to slowly beat you out of the game through the raw mixture of card advantage and the fact that they simply cannot deal with your threats. These decks are flexible with their color combinations, which tend to allow them to have answers to most things in their given formats and change their playstyle on the fly in order to adapt to any scenario. Last but certainly not least are combo-centric decks such as Gift Storm. Storm wins by sculpting their hand with cantrips such as Sleight of Hand, Serum Visions, and Op in order to play their spell cost reducers, namely Baral Chief of Compliance and Goblin Electromancers, to turn their Desperate Rituals and Pyretic Rituals into Dark Ritual-esque effects with red mana, which is used to up the storm count to a critical mass in order to cast a lethal Grape Shot or swarm the board with goblins through Empty the Warrens. As you can see, Modern has a lot of different strategies, and we've only brushed the tip of the iceberg. We'll be going more in depth on this in a later video. Next, let's get into Legacy. Legacy is a Magic the Gathering format where all cards ever printed in the history of Magic the Gathering are legal for play, barring a select few cards that were banned for either allowing way too much fast mana or a strategy that generally restricts design space for deck building. Now, you may be asking, what makes Legacy different from Modern in terms of gameplay? Well, Legacy utilizes some of the most cost-efficient spells in regards to their mana costs that have ever been created within the game. This allows for some of the highest power ceilings within the game. This level of power allows decks to be tuned to be as low to the ground and cost-efficient as possible through their gameplay. Due to this intense tuning, archetypes that find success in the Legacy format are vastly different and a bit more focused than their Modern counterparts. Furthermore, within Legacy, there are even more deck game plans, even if there are less decks that you have to be aware of. These include prison decks, stacks decks, and general resource denial decks. Some examples of these include Dragon Stompy, Pox, and Smokestacks. Next, let's look at a few decks you should be aware of in your ventures into this format. As is with Modern, you are going to see a lot of control decks. One of the main namesakes being Miracles. Miracles is effectively Legacy's counterpart to Blue-White and Jeskai control style decks. These decks, again, seek to set out card advantage, albeit with much better cantrips, which include Ponder, Brainstorm, and Preordain, Swords to Plowshares as opposed to Path to Exile, and Force of Will as opposed to Cryptic Command, as well as having access to proper counterspell. Miracles then attempts to finish off the game with a Jace the Mind Sculptor Teferi Hero of Dominaria, backed up by either a Monastery Mentor and his team of Merry Monks, or Snapcaster Mage in order to get the most value out of the spells you've cast previously. Next up, we have Tempo Strategies. These are strategies which seek to apply pressure with cheap threats and permission spells, as opposed to Modern's emphasis on hand disruption. No deck better embodies this than Grixis Delver. Grixis Delver seeks to land a Delver of Secrets and any of their numbered numerous undercosted threats, such as True Name Nemesis, Young Pyromancer, or Gurmag Angler, and apply pressure while ensuring that their threats stick with powerful counter magic such as Force of Will and Daze, with the occasional Spell Pierce. They shape this game plan with some of the most powerful cantrips in the game, which include Ponder, Preordain, and of course Brainstorm. Next on our Legacy adventure are combo decks. Combo decks are decks in the format that seek to combine underlying synergies of powerful cards to undermine the average resource output given in a normal game of Magic Gathering. One of the best and most notable of these decks is Dredge. Dredge is a graveyard-based combo deck that seeks to use its namesake Dredge mechanic through its creatures such as Golgari Grave Troll, Stinkweed Imp, and Golgari Thug to put the top X cards of their library into their graveyard as opposed to drawing a card at any given instance. Now you may be wondering, why would they want to put the cards from their library into their graveyard? Well, they do this in order to cheat creatures such as Narcomoeba into play, which says that if it is put into a graveyard from your library, it gets placed immediately into play. It then utilizes these creatures by sacrificing them to Cabal Therapy to hit another enchantment that they seek to put in the graveyard, known as Bridge from Below, in order to create 2/2 zombies. Now, with the power of Cabal Therapy and their new army of zombies, they're going to pick apart your hand and simply rush in with a team of 2/2s in order to wipe you down. And if that doesn't work, they'll sacrifice those 2/2s to reanimate a huge Golgari Grave Troll, typically about a 12/12 or a 20/20, in order to bash your face in with an overwhelming creature. They shape this game plan through a use of powerful cantrips that allow you to loot, which is put cards from your hand into your graveyard while still drawing cards. These include cards such as Faithless Looting, Careful Study, and Breakthrough. Next on our Eternal Constructed Adventures, let's get into Pauper. Pauper is a non-rotating Magic the Gathering format that uses commons from throughout all of Magic history. While it only uses commons, the format is actually quite powerful, as many iconic Magic the Gathering archetypes are very much present here, including Delver decks, Burn decks, Control decks, and Affinity, just to name a few. Now, I would like to go a little bit more in depth on this format, however I feel as though this deserves its own video, as the differences between this format and Legacy and Modern require a little bit of explanation that I will do later on. Lastly, but certainly not least in our quick Magic the Gathering Eternal Format Tour, is Commander, or EDH as it was formerly called. EDH is a casual format consisting of a 100-card singleton deck, with one card out of the 100 being a legendary creature, of course, being designated as the deck's commander. The commander determines usually the theme of the deck, as well as its color combination that you're allowed to use within the deck, and how you construct it. Moreover, given that there's a whole new philosophy of deck building within the commander format, the way decks are constructed is entirely different, and it also allows for a huge slew of new strategies to be formulated. Once again, I'll be going more in depth on Commander in its own video. Now, you may be wondering now that the video is coming to a close, why haven't I brought up Vintage? Well, Vintage is kind of a tricky format for me to get into, and also requires its own video, but I would say actually a series of videos, given the fact of, number one, its financial implications, as well as how the format itself works just on a completely different axis as opposed to other Magic the Gathering formats. Anyways, that's all for me today. Thank you all so much for watching. Please remember to like it if you liked it, dislike it if you dislike it, leave a comment down below to give me your feedback. And if you enjoy this kind of content, subscribe, ring the notification bell, and let me know down in the comments below. That's all for me right now. This is Sonic Goat 6, logging off. Catch you in the next one.